Hi, and welcome to this episode of Being Me, a show that is a self-awareness toolkit, and we are here talking about all the healing and wellness modalities in Kenya to safeguard your mental and emotional well-being. I'm your host, Carolyne Gaithuma, and I'm just so excited to be here. And on this episode, we are talking about clinical hypnotherapy, and with me is Kinneri Parekh. And she is so many things among being a clinical hypnotherapist. So welcome, Kinneri.
Thank you.
Tell us who you are, what you do, and about clinical hypnotherapy.
So I am a clinical hypnotherapist and a trainer of clinical hypnotherapy level 1, a transpersonal regression therapist, practitioner of metaphysical anatomy, psychologist, NLP life coach, a Reiki master.
Wow, yes, so many things. But on this particular episode, we are talking about clinical hypnotherapy. So what is that?
A clinical hypnotherapy, the basis of it is hypnosis. And hypnosis is derived from a word called hypnos. It's a Greek word. And what does hypnos mean? It's quite paradoxical, and it means nervous sleep.
Nervous sleep.
Yeah. So think about it.
Interesting.
When you are asleep, you're completely gone.
Yeah.
And when you are very anxious, you are hyper.
Yeah.
So what it uses is that concept where you are asleep, but you are very awake, like you're hyper. That's the whole idea behind it. So how I actually explain it is, this is an altered state of awareness where your body is asleep, but your mind is hyper awake. That is actually hypnosis.
Wow. And so when the body is asleep means that, so tell us about these two parts of the mind. There's a conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So when the body is asleep, is it that the subconscious mind is subdued, the conscious mind is subdued, or how does that work?
So when the body is asleep, our conscious mind is also asleep. Because it has nothing to do.
Yeah.
It is asleep. That's how we are relaxed. And so which mind of ours is awake when we are asleep? Is that deeper mind, because that's where the dreams come from.
Yeah.
That's where the processing is happening. So that is the mind that we use. As the body sleeps, we are awakening that inner mind, which is the library and the storehouse for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now this therapy is clinical hypnotherapy. Is there another type of hypnotherapy without the clinical word at the beginning?
What we use is actually to heal people of the issues that they are going through. Of course, there's other types of hypnosis where people plant suggestions, like they relax a person and they allow the mind to absorb the suggestions that the therapist is giving. Our kind of therapy is where we actually go to a root cause of an issue to help the person heal. So we are not just planting suggestions.
Wow. So there's a lot of stigma surrounding hypnosis. Why is that? Because I feel like people approach hypnosis from a space of fear. And people feel as if somebody is going to control them, or, where does that come from?
I think people have seen hypnosis and attached it to the word hypnotizing.
Yeah.
They think hypnosis is hypnotizing.
Yeah.
And what is hypnotizing is actually mind control. And it comes from, I think, the Eastern culture. Now, Eastern, I mean, could be anything, where there has been that connotation and there has been that practice as well, where people control mind to make somebody do something, like a stage show, where somebody might control your mind and make you eat potatoes, raw potatoes. No, we don't do that.
Yeah.
This is primarily for therapeutic purposes, where we don't control a person's mind.
Yeah.
The person is always in control and aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so tell us about the therapy itself. What happens in a session? Because I would like the viewer to totally understand and stay open with this practice and see, because there's some people who will listen and be like, I think I need that. So what exactly, before we go to what happens in a session, what are the foundations of clinical hypnotherapy?
So, like I explained, that this is a state of an altered awareness.
Yes.
It's a very safe therapy where what actually happens is we help a person relax enough. It's like almost going into a state of daydreaming, or more like just sort of very relaxed meditative state. And what happens in a meditative state, that is the foundation, that the body is very relaxed. That is the key. The moment the body is relaxed, the conscious mind will relax. And so a person, say in a meditative state or daydreaming, they kind of just veer off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
And through techniques, specialized techniques, we are able to take a person back into where that issue began, or whatever the reason is. So it's a very safe one. What we do is literally just relax a person through maybe just giving them relaxing suggestions, and then just allowing them to go back to, we do not control, the person controls where they find themselves.
Yeah.
Emotions may come out because the body is holding emotions. When we talk of the mind, wherever we have gotten the emotion from, wherever in childhood or beyond, we will find that emotion sitting somewhere in the body.
In the body, yeah.
It will awaken. That is the foundation. Awakening that part that needs to be healed.
So what happens when the emotion comes? Do you allow it to, do you guide the client on how to express it, or how do you allow them to process it in that state?
Yes. So it's also a little bit of talk therapy, where we are guiding the client or a person to talk about what happened, how they felt, why they felt, and go through that reliving completely, so that they also understand through that inner mind that what happened to me is my perception or my understanding of where I was, how I was influenced. Which means that once the subconscious mind understands, it is able to resolve it. When we are able to even release it from the body that we are holding it in.
Wow. Does somebody need to understand this therapy for them to come for the therapy?
It's good to understand the process behind it, but it's also good to allow the trust to happen that this may help me. Like I said, it is a very safe therapy. The therapist does not control any part of the client's mind. It is the person who is entirely responsible, but we are only the guiding factor because we have learned the trade and the techniques.
Wow. And how, when somebody comes in for the therapy, do they have to have an issue? Can somebody just come in to see where they'll go?
Of course, some people do come just to explore, to know like what is it exactly and how can it help me. And most of the time we do find that there's always something to resolve. But of course it works with any issue, physical, mental, emotional. Many years ago when hypnotherapy started, they only had a number of issues that they could resolve. Today the world is open, literally. It can help heal anything.
Wow. And so when somebody comes for this therapy, and we've spoken about the mind a while back, and we've talked about the subconscious mind and the fact that it has stored like almost everything that has happened in the course of our life and probably beyond. How far back have you ever seen people going as far as resolving their traumas and patterns?
So there is this word which we call integrated clinical hypnotherapy. there's a reason why it is integrated. It is not only limited to the body or the mind or the emotions, it goes beyond. So we also bring in the metaphysical part. Many people may not believe it, but of course we have the experience that when we talk of reincarnation, we are talking of life beyond.
Yeah.
We have experienced people healing through that as well. Yeah.
Wow. So how did hypnotherapy begin? How did it, like, is it something that was practiced in ancient cultures? Would we actually be having something like that in the African context? You know,
Of course.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting question, which will take me back to literally where life began, when we talk of millions of years ago.
Yeah.
How was our mind or a brain at that time? History suggests, and fossilized evidence is there, that our mind was very small, probably just a number of neurons.
Yeah.
And as time has gone, every million years, the brain has doubled in size. Means the neurological patterns or the neurons in the body has increased in the brain.
Yeah.
Which means we have allowed ourselves to start thinking beyond. So let me give you an example of a basic mammal or animal that we have.
Yeah.
A worm has 320 neurons.
A worm.
A worm. This is the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
The human today, as it's exploded with the number of neurons over time, we have 100 billion neurons.
Wow.
This is the evidence from science.
Wow.
Now, what has happened as the explosion of neurons has happened is man has begun to start thinking. We take our lives back from the caveman or Stone Age men that we were, and our life was basically about survival, how animals are in our national parks. Literally, the survival is just survival, basic. Now, man has moved from there into creating rules of living.
Yeah.
Now, what has happened in that manner? Our brain has started increasing its capacity. And so when man started thinking beyond, I started understanding that life is just not about what we see. There are things that I am in control of, and then there are things that I'm not in control of.
Yeah.
So man knew that I am in control of maybe killing an animal, eating, sleeping, co-creating. But I am not in control of how the sun rises, how the moon comes, how the day ends, how the night begins. So who is in control of all this that I am not in control of?
Yeah.
There must be maybe a higher power that I have no idea of.
Yeah.
And this is where the seed of connecting to a higher power has begun. Now, why am I telling you this? This is the seed where hypnosis, actually altered state of awareness, has started from eons ago.
Wow.
Thousands of years ago. And so as time has gone by, hypnosis has taken shape in temples where we believe that the priest had more power than us to heal us. So what did they use? It was only the power of the mind that they used to help us heal. So connecting to the subconscious and what we call hypnosis has begun long ago. And then in the earlier, from the 15th, 16th, 17th centuries, people have begun understanding that there is a way we can heal the body and mind through alternative means. And when we look at the later stages, say late in the 1980s, till then hypnosis was being used, and then for some time, because they were not finding the results, it kind of lost its charm or touch. And then this man called John Kappas in the 80s, he began experimenting and conceptualizing what it is that got lost and what is the power. And he began discovering this modality that we are practicing today. So the point is that hypnosis has been there for many years. We just had different names to
for
it.
Yeah.
And many people have experimented it. In fact, In India, I think in this last century, there have been scientists who have done surgeries without anesthesia. How is that possible?
Wow.
It is through the power of the mind.
Yeah. And I actually have seen, and I know somebody personally who helps people give birth without pain, without any, pain medication, just through hypnosis.
Well, I have very few very successful cases on that. I'm not a hypnobirthing expert,
Yeah.
but just through suggestion,
Yeah.
I have actually helped. My first client was, she was about 7 months pregnant when she came to me. And I only did a couple of sessions.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much that I did. It was just suggestions and helping the woman connect to her baby.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. She didn't know that she was dilated when she went to the doctors. She had a little bit of discomfort and she went to the doctor, and the doctor says, do you know that I think it was about 4 or 5 centimeters dilated? And she says, he says that you cannot go back to work, you must just better admit yourself to the hospital.
Yeah.
She had no pain, she had no idea.
Wow.
When she went, she was on the labor bed. She's watching TV. There is no labor pain.
Yeah.
And she's waiting and she's waiting, and the nurses are going up and down, and this is her description and her story.
Yeah.
I think in the last 25 minutes, she felt the discomfort, but she gave birth to a baby. And she messaged me after a few months, and she said, do you know that this baby is the best baby I've ever had? I have no idea that I have a baby in the house.
Wow. They're
This is the
calm
power.
and they're...
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
And she's so open to telling her story to people and her experience, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I want us to go on a break, but that's really exciting. I want to hear more experiences, either by yourself or, a client's experience once we come back from the break, and also whether somebody can self-hypnotize, because people would want to know that. Are there skills that somebody can use to get into an altered state? I've heard of people talking about lucid dreaming. We'll talk about that when we come back. So I hope that this episode is exciting for you as it is for me, and you're learning as much as possible. I want us to go on a break, and when we come back, we'll be right here with Kinneri talking about clinical hypnotherapy. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to this episode of Being Me, a self-awareness toolbox. I'm your host, Carolyne Gaithuma, and on this episode, we are talking about clinical hypnotherapy with Kinneri. And before we went on a break, we were talking about stories. And I'm sure you have stories, your story or a client's story. And, I want you to share with us 2 or 3, like what has been one of the things that you have seen solved like in an instant through clinical hypnotherapy?
Oh, Caroline, my first experience was myself, of course. And I will tell you, I was a skeptic. I told myself, or I always thought that I cannot be hypnotized.
Yeah.
Because, of course, that fear was there a bit, that hypnotizing means somebody is already in control.
Yeah.
Honestly, my first experience was so pleasant. There is nothing, like it's an altered state, like a focused attention to something. You know how we watch TV and we are so focused on the TV that everything else is deleted from the mind?
Yeah.
It was as simple as that.
Wow.
I could not believe it. And there was nothing that I had to do. All I did was relax. I was helped by my guide, my trainer, and he just relaxed me and allowed me to go back very gently, no push, no stress.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to access. My mind went back to exactly where it needed to. Because the mind is powerful, it knows. There is no prompting or prodding or anything.
Yeah.
Of course, the questioning helps, but that is all it is. And this is my first experience.
Did you remember, did you remember after the session, did you remember what was going on? Or was it a recording that you had?
No, I'm completely aware.
Ah.
In fact, I'm hyper aware. I am within, yet my awareness is so expanded that I am even hearing the smallest things, but it's not disturbing me because my attention is completely focused within.
Yeah.
So I am aware means I am awake, but hyper awake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you feel a sense of like, is this real? Because if your mind takes you back to a memory that was not in your conscious, say your mind takes you back to when you were like in your mother's womb or like 1 year old, that one is not in your conscious memory. So if you're hyper aware and you've been asked a question and you're answering that, something that is like way back, do you have a sense of, is that real?
My experience was that when it took me back to that moment, of course, it wasn't in my conscious memory at that time, but when I recalled it, I know that this happened. If anything, I am more aware of what I didn't realize consciously. When you talked of wombs, I have taken clients back into their mother's womb. Maybe they are 4, 5 months, 6 months. And of course, with questioning, we ask them to become aware of even their environment outside. They pick up things.
Outside the womb?
Outside the womb, not only within. Not only that, when they go to verify with their mom, yes.
Their mom is like, what's going on?
It's because it is there in the mind. It is there in the inner mind. It's just that it's like a file that has not been used in a long time, yet it's there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is some of the stuff that you've seen healed or resolved that is so powerful from a session?
I had a very interesting case where somebody came to me, somebody who couldn't get rid of chocolate eating.
Chocolate
they just
eating.
loved chocolate so much and they wanted to heal that because knowing consciously that this wasn't very healthy for them, but they couldn't stop. And funny enough, even when she came to my place of healing, whenever she would see a chocolate, she would pick it up. She couldn't resist. One session. One session. The moment she understood the reason, she goes out of the healing room. There is a chocolate there. She didn't even pick it up.
And what was the reason? Like, where was she taken back to?
So the thing was that her sister was diabetic when she was born, once she was born. Now the parents were always trying to desist the sister from eating chocolates, which meant that in the house they would restrict chocolate eating or anything sweet. So this girl felt a lack. That she is deprived. Now when the mind is feeling deprived,
it just goes all the way to get it.
The thing is, the urge is there. Now understanding that, resolving that, it's over.
Wow. So now it's like you're taking back your power of choice. So
Completely.
Now you're not being driven by something that is very powerful at the back of your
unconscious
mind. So you're not impulsive.
Completely.
Wow, then this could do so well with addictions, you know. Have you ever dealt with like alcohol or drug addictions?
Smoking. There was a girl who came to me. And she couldn't just give up smoking. She wanted to get married. And the only thing that was stopping her was this cigarettes. Not that the husband refused or anything, but she herself wanted to because she knew that this is a health hazard. But nothing that she did stopped it. It took about 4 to 5 sessions. And of course there are techniques that we do to take them back to heal. Because it's finding the root cause. Where did we begin doing this? What had happened in our life that had made us pick up that cigarette? resolving that, releasing that.
Yeah. And I do understand the way the mind is very intricate. Things are connected in there. Is there a time where you find that this can cause this, and then there's another layer, and then there's another layer, until you get to the bottom of it?
Of course. Like we say, something like resentment.
Yeah.
And we all have resentment or, things like that. They will have layers. Because emotions, whatever our experiences are, creates emotions. And those emotions are not just one thing. So it's layer by layer, layer by layer.
Yeah.
Sometimes one thing resolves and it's a ripple effect, a domino effect.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to go a little deeper.
Deeper.
Yeah.
And I also understand that the mind will only take you to where you're ready to see. So maybe something happened that was too traumatic and your mind is just giving you bit by bit, can't take you direct. Is that what happens sometimes? Does it take you like too deep?
Yes.
And you can be shocked and re-traumatized again?
Most of the time what happens is because when the person is coming, they are already ready to heal. So it doesn't take too long to get to the root cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So right now we have COVID that's happening, and there's a lot that's going on, and people are in different states as far as their mental and emotional well-being is concerned. As a clinical hypnotherapist, what are you seeing right now that is probably the reason why most people are emotionally destabilized, and what can you advise people to do?
For me, COVID is more like a symptom. It's bringing the best and the worst out in people.
Yeah.
So if we say the worst has come from somewhere.
Yeah.
COVID is a reason that is probably expounding or increasing. So for me, as a therapist, I don't look at the symptom, I go beyond the symptom. What is the reason they are feeling the way they are? And going back there to find that reason. Yeah.
And I find that COVID, with this hashtag stay at home, social distancing, it's like we are somehow being driven to sit in a corner and sort of meditate, like just take a chill pill, like slow down. And that has a way of bringing up stuff on the surface. Our fear of survival, our fear of death, our fear of not providing for our families, our fear for our health in our bodies, and all these patterns are coming up. What is a quick, fast mental, emotional first aid that you can advise people to have?
Interesting. We can do self-hypnosis. Of course, it's not a quick fix.
Yeah.
What it does, self-hypnosis, of course, has its own science. But what we're doing is, in a very simple format, I can tell you, that say our mind was a room.
Yeah.
And this is conscious mind, I'm not even talking subconscious, because it's self-hypnosis.
Yeah.
If our mind is crowded, how do we make sense of it? We can't. And this is what's happening to people. There is so much happening all over.
Yeah.
Imagine that we try and organize that room and say that maybe we have an experience of fear and we stack it. Or we have an experience of chaos and we stack it. What are we doing? We are organizing our mind such that we can maneuver towards in it to see what's happening. We use the body and feelings in self-hypnosis so that we connect to where we are. And with that self-hypnosis, we are able to stabilize our mind a little bit. It is not a resolve, or it's not a treatment.
Yeah.
But it does help stabilize our mind.
And self-hypnosis is just the conscious mind.
It is the conscious. Because some people don't want to go into the subconscious.
Yeah.
So how do we help them?
Yeah.
Self-hypnosis does help to a certain extent. It is in the flip side like meditation, but meditation takes a long process. This is an easier process.
And it's basically about, and I like that analogy that you've given. It's like you have a whole room of, like a store, and there's so much going on. Just stepping into that room is stress. So you just want to know where everything is and what everything is. So it's like basically just expanding your awareness, right?
So it's creating a trigger. For example, say I take you through a session of self-hypnosis and I'll tell you, say, I ask you how your body's feeling in that moment. So now you are in an altered state of awareness. It's conscious awareness, where you're feeling a feeling in your body. So every time you want to connect to that feeling, now you need a trigger. It's like how NLP would, I don't know if you know about NLP,
I know NLP,
and how we create a trigger to anchor some experience.
Yes.
It's similar to that. Little different, but similar. We are consciously creating an altered awareness.
Yeah.
And then we are creating a trigger for that feeling.
Yeah.
So we are literally now organizing the mind to feel that.
Yeah.
And then giving a statement which is more empowering in these times of stress.
Yeah. I hear you. And the reason why I'm sort of blanking out is because I'm remembering, because I trained coaching myself, and one of the things our coaches would help us is actually that. And, you know, in case the viewer doesn't know, we normally actually do it without knowing, because sometimes you want to feel a certain way. And when you want to feel that way, there's something you do with your body to take you there. So I see, like, if somebody wants to get excited and they just do, you know, immediately they get into that space.
Correct.
That's exactly what you're talking about, right?
So that is literally surface healing. But
Yeah.
of course, see, when a symptom comes up, like say a pain in a body, when we talk of COVID, the fear comes up. The fear is a symptom of something deeper, because it's come from somewhere. Something happened to us to have evoked that fear. But it's manifesting and magnifying with experiences that we have in this life. And COVID is one of them.
Yeah.
So, of course, deeper healing has to take place for us to resolve it and empower ourselves to make better choices and be more responsible for ourselves and our life.
Yeah.
But self-hypnosis does.
This is like first aid.
First aid.
And before we leave, because I see time is not on our side, I just want you to talk about the importance of people taking control of their life that they want. Because I feel that for you to go out and get any level of healing, any therapy, you must be invested in the life that you want to create. It's not just about, I want this pain to end, I want to feel better. It's actually having clarity of the kind of life that you want. So tell us about how somebody can actually get to that space where they're invested in creating a life for themselves that's fulfilling.
So first of all, I believe that we must be responsible for our life.
Yeah.
We are the only ones who create our life. We are the ones who create our situations. So being responsible and not blaming anybody else. We cannot change the situation. We can change the way we feel about it. So take responsibility and take that time out. Know that this is your life. You are the creator of your life. Why would you want to be in a life where it's disempowering rather than empowering? So taking that responsibility and doing something that we can. Today so much is available to us. So why not take that moment for us to know that we can create our life or we can destroy it, but be responsible for it. Situations are what we create, not situations creating us.
Awesome, and I like that. We create situations, they don't create us. So with that said, how long is a session? How much is a session? And do you give teaser sessions?
So a session normally is anything from 1 hour beyond. And every session I charge 10,000 shillings because a lot of me is also invested in it.
Yes.
I have to be so present in order to walk with that person. So yes, and sometimes what I do is it depends on the person, depends on the issue, also depends on how people can afford it. I'm very willing to negotiate as well, not in everything.
Yeah.
But yes, I also assess where the person is. I'm not hard and fast.
Yeah.
And most of the time, there is no need for a teaser. We are already, I think when somebody comes for a session, they're already in the trance of that problem. So for me, it's a different thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for showing up and telling us a lot. I've learned a lot. And I hope to do that therapy once. You know, I've been one of those who have been feeling, am I going to get, you know, hypnotized? And now I know more, and I'm grateful for you for that. Thank you so much. And to you, dear viewer, I hope that you're going to take action with what you're learning on this show, and you're going to spread the word. I hope you've subscribed and clicked on the notification button. And let's continue this conversation on the comment section. Let's talk about our experiences and what we are learning and what we are willing to try. And as we continue with the rest of the episodes, let's share this information that we are learning. So my name is Carolyne Gaithuma. I've been your host, and until the next episode, it's bye-bye.